Hey guys, Chris here. Welcome to a new episode of How To. Today, how to Tassadar and Tracer, but also how to counter Tassadar and Tracer. So click on the little annotation in the top left to go to that part right away, because I know that Tassadar and Tracer is something that a lot of people will not like a lot when you talk to them about it. So, Tassadar and Tracer is a great combination of heroes that you can play in Hero League with a friend. It will give you a lot of wins under one condition, that you have somebody who can play Tracer, which is not as easy as it sounds, but it's also not as hard as some people make it out to be. So Tassadar and Tracer are very good together. They have great synergies. We're going to talk about them. First off, just a quick reminder, as always, watching this video doesn't enable you to win every match in Hero League. So if you haven't played the combination yet, and if maybe you haven't even played Tracer a lot yet, please take out into quick match and some unranked games before you put her into Hero League. The easiest way to counter, by the way, is obviously to ban one of them. I know that, for example, Bakery likes to ban Tracer right away. So, what is it that makes those two work well together? So, first of all, Tassadar is a great support in general. I know there are a lot of people that don't think he fits very well in a solo support situation, but he does have his merits and he can be a very good solo support. So he has shields which prevent damage, which is excellent for for Tracer, because she has a very small health pool. So having a shield on her enables her to live longer. And with that, we're just going to jump into this Hero League game I played a couple of days ago and see what we can do. So Tassadar has three abilities. It's every hero. Plasma Shield, which I already talked about, gives Tracer more health basically, and then Sonic Storm is also very good in Tassadar because it gives you a great wave clear tool, which is underappreciated a lot of times. Dimensional Shift is something that makes Tassadar strong in late game. It's his E ability, and makes him invulnerable and invisible. So this is very strong because it just keeps you alive, especially when the enemy is trying to punish you. With Tracer, again, you have to be very good with her to do what you need to do. She's gonna jump onto targets, and with the level 4 talent of Leeching Plasma, she will also regenerate health points by attacking enemies. So this is why Tracer and Tassadar work so well together, because Tassadar basically gives Tracer shields that she can then use to heal herself up. So, early game Tassadar and Tracer can be quite tricky, because you want to take Conjurer's Pursuit on Tassadar to get more mana regeneration later on, because from level 7 on you're gonna spam those shields when you pick up Colors and Praise. That means that you want to finish the quest as soon as possible. Conjurer's Pursuit gives you mana regeneration in general with picking up globes, and then also more mana when you finish the quest. So this is really good. You get more mana and you get also more regeneration. So that's really strong. Tomb of the Spider Queen is one of those maps where it's really easy to finish the quest, because you're gonna rotate for the minions anyway, because you want the gems. So Tassadar is a great hero on the map, because in general you do rotate anyway with 3-4 heroes, as we talked about in the rotation video. But on here you not only rotate for XP but also for the gems. So Tassadar is really strong here because he gives you a lot of wave clear with Sonic Storm. It's on an 8-second cooldown, so rotations are done very easily with it. So Tracer in this game went for Tracer rounds on level 1, and it can be a very strong tool because it reveals enemies that you're attacking for a couple more seconds. This is very powerful because, again, Tracer wants to chase down heroes. She wants to be in the middle of everything and looks for the weakest target and then just, shoots it down. So having Tracer rounds is very good because they can't escape through bushes or behind walls or anything, because you still have vision of them. So as long as you're in range of them, you will actually get damage on them. This is one of the things that Tassadar doesn't do well. Burst damage is okay, but as soon as more than one ally gets damage, you will have issues because you just don't have the cooldowns for that. Let's pause it really quick on level 4. So level 4 is the start of the Tracer Tassadar combination, where you mostly want to be with Tracer as a Tassadar, and as a Tracer you want to be more aggressive than you were before. So on level 4 you take Untouchable on Tracer, which basically is a gathering power talent. So takedowns increase your basic attack damage by 10% up to 30%. So these will be lost, these stacks will be lost when you die. So it's important that from level 4 on you are careful to not die once you have stacks, but you also get Leeching Plasma from Tassadar, which allows you to regenerate life by hitting enemies. So this is already very powerful, because Tracer has such a low health pool. She regenerates her health very quickly with Leeching Plasma. And then the shields in general also give her a buffer of the shield. So with this, she basically regenerates her life while not receiving any more damage, for example, from minions. And here's also why I personally think that it's not only important to have a good Tracer, but I mean, you don't need to be a great Tassadar to play Tracer Tassadar, but if you don't know what to do with Tassadar, you will also struggle. Because you have to make decisions on who to shield and how to shield them. Before level 7 you don't have as many shields available because you can't pre-shield people. But once you have your Tassadar, you have your Tracer ready, it's very difficult to decide which target to heal or to shield if you have a very aggressive Tracer, because you always want to give Tracer shield because she's the one that enables your win. She's the one that kills everybody, and she's the one that should be doing the damage. So you have to be very careful with Tassadar and make sometimes pretty difficult decisions on who to heal. And you will see it in this game as well, because I definitely did make some mistakes on a couple of occasions. So here, for example, I don't have any shields up, and now I have Tassadar low and Tracer low. Sorry, I have Johanna low and Tracer low. So I decided to shield Tracer because I want her to do more damage, but I also want to finish my quest. So now I'm in a little bit awkward position where I have low mana. Everybody gets damage. Gul'dan is leeching his own life for mana. And this is something where decision making is going to be very important for Tassadar. So it's not as easy as just, oh, you're going to shield everybody. While in practice you basically do shield everybody, but you also have to make decisions on when to heal and when to use the shields on which target. And we'll come back to this in a second for the counterplay of Tracer and Tassadar as well. So the early game was won by the enemy team, but we get the turn in, so that's pretty strong. And as you can see here, like, she doesn't lose any life. Tracer just lives on, which is why she's so annoying and why a lot of people don't like to play against Tracer Tassadar, because you basically can't kill her. And then she just died. So in this case I didn't have mana anymore, and also already used my shield, so obviously it's very important to have good communication. In this case we were a random group, so we didn't have any communication, which is why Tracer dies a couple of times in situations where she doesn't need to die. That being said, if you have a good friend or a partner for Hero League, being in voice is really powerful with this combination, because you just can't say like, oh yeah, you can go ham, I have another shield, or hey, don't go ham, I don't have another shield. So now we are level 7. Let's pause it one more time. Level 7 is where Tassadar begins to become a very, very powerful support. So basically Carla's Embrace is, there you go, is a talent that will make you give out basically, I don't want to say divine shields, but very powerful shields to everybody. Because if the shield expires, 50% of the shield will remain indefinitely. That means you can pre-shield people before a fight starts. This is very powerful, similar to what Malfurion now does after his buffs with pre-hotting people. You basically begin the fight with your team being up in health. It's basically as if you were up a level and had more HP than the enemy. But not only does this give you more HP, but it also gives you the leech. So if you have strong melees or auto attackers in general, This will also increase the health pool even more because they can leech off of that. Our Tracer went for Spatial Echo, which gives her more blink charges for enemy takedowns. This is also pretty strong because you have the chance to just keep diving on enemies once you kill them. It also allows you to escape situations where you just had a takedown and you didn't have any blink charges up. You get 2 of them and you can just run away. So you will now see that I will be shielding everybody all the time now, even though I don't have my quest finished yet. So I will be out of mana quite frequently. And here you see, I shielded the Tracer because I wanted her to go ham, and with that the Tyrael died because I just didn't have a shield anymore. And this is the decision making that will be tough on you, because most of the times you can say that shielding Tracer is the right call, but when an enemy a teammate dies, it sometimes can be quite detrimental to your setup. And for example, on maps where the objective is drop, or where they lose stacks, like if you had 2 people that in your team that have quest stacks that be dropped, for example like a Kel'Thas and a Tracer, this can be pretty bad. So decision making is definitely something that you have to learn with Tassadar. And while you want to have Tracer shielded all the time, it can be a good idea to not shield her. Again, shield on her. I just want to try to get everybody shielded up, but as it has 5-second cooldown, I need to be careful. And you will see that I don't shield myself a lot. That's basically because I have Dimensional Shift on the 20-second cooldown. So as long as I have Dimensional Shift up, which makes me again invisible and untargetable, I don't really mind being in the front line and not having a shield. As you can see, I just run away. So in these fights, Tracer is the pest that everybody dislikes, because she can just stay in there forever. She can basically recall out of every situation and be in a safe position again. By the way, our Johanna here did go way too deep, which is why I can't save her. Yeah, and this is one thing that Tassadar does not well. Spread damage. So if it's damage that goes to a lot of heroes on your team, you will struggle because you can't heal up anybody. You just basically give them more HP by shielding them, right? So that can be quite difficult to handle. So again, one of the things that you don't want to do as Tassadar is have everybody drop low on you, because then you can't heal them up, and you just have to be careful. So as you can see, we're in the mid game now. Reached level 10. Our Tracer went for Quantum Spike, which just means that her Pulse Bomb, does more damage to a single target, so or to the main target. So this can help blow up people even better. So Tracer's job is basically to just go on enemies and shoot at them until they die. That's basically what she does. She's so good at it, obviously because of her blink charges, so she can stay on anybody. And then she also has the chance to just, with those auto attacks, to reload her Pulse Bomb Heroic very quickly. So she does basically damage to one target, which puts a lot of pressure on the healer of the enemy team, because they need to make decisions on who to use the heals on. And here you can see why I don't cheat myself. I basically am pretty much safe from everything. But she just, Tracer goes on one target and brings the target down pretty quickly, and then the healer has to bring it up again. And then she just switches targets and goes on somebody else who's out of range of the healer. So Tracer can be super annoying to play against, because you have this little flea running around your team and just does damage to everybody. Also, the Pulse Bomb does pretty surprising damage on a single target, so they will need to use their defensive cooldowns or even the healing cooldowns to survive some of these. And with the Tassadar, she just never seems to die. Because of the healing that she gets from the auto attacks, she can just like stay on targets, and even if you attack her, she just heals herself up. As you can see here, like Tychus was on her, but she never drops below half health. She does now because she goes in very deep and I'm not there with her. But again, here you can see Rhaegar thought he can like go after her and bite her, but then she gets the shield. She has like 50% more life and is leeching and just does damage to you. So this is something that a lot of people struggle with, and they really dislike it because they don't feel like there's a lot of outplay potential to that. So it can be quite annoying to play against her. Let's pause it before we go into the second section of the video. So on level 13, she, like my tracer, also chose leeching rounds. So she gets not only leeching from the plasma shields, but also from her talents. So with this, she basically heals herself by quite a bit. If you look at my talent on level 7, so on level 4, Leeching Plasma gives you 30% basic attack damage. And then she has another 20% on herself from the talent. So that she has 50% leech from her auto attacks. And she basically attacks all the time. So this is super powerful and makes this combination even more annoying to play against. So, one thing that is, as the last point of this duo, is important that you don't forget to shield your allies. You will see this in the video ongoing on here. I oftentimes focus myself on Tracer, and this will lead to my allies dying. This can be pretty frustrating for them because they feel like you're only focusing on Tracer. I mean, probably we all have had games where we thought, oh, these guys are duo queuing, and I'm seemingly not getting any heals. Which can be demotivating because you think that the guy that is playing with the Tracer is basically ignoring you on purpose. The shields have 5-second cooldown, so it's not super long, but it's definitely something that can look like, oh, you didn't shield me because you didn't want to, or you just didn't care, or you're not good enough, or whatever. So keep in mind to always pre-shield people, otherwise you will be in situations where they think, this is also a very bad mistake, they think you are not shielding them on purpose. Okay, so when you play together, Tracer and Tassadar, always try to stay in one lane together, or at least be in range of the shields within like 3 or 4 or 5 seconds. So on small maps, it's fine to be split a little bit, but try to stay with your Tassadar as a Tracer. Also, if you go in as a Tracer, always make sure that your Tassadar sees that you're going in. We will have a situation later on where she just goes ham way too deep, and I have no chance on saving her there. As a Tassadar, make sure that you pre-shield as much as you can, so that not only your Tracer benefits from your shields, because a lot of times the enemy team will focus on your Tracer, so if you pre-shield your team, they will have benefits from those shields for a very long time because they don't get targeted. And as the last thing, which maps do you want to play Tracer and Tassadar on? Because it's important to have that in there as well. So the combination works pretty much on all maps. It works pretty well on smaller maps where you brawl a lot more. I want to say like Battlefield of Eternity, Brax's Holdout. I think it works pretty well. Battlefield of Eternity has the issue that you don't get a lot of globes. So for Tassadar, it's a little bit more of a Hearthstoning back and getting mana from that. On big maps, it can be quite difficult because, as with all big maps, if you're the support and you don't get the chance to be with your team, they might die because they don't get heals. That being said, because of Karla's Embrace and the pre-shielding, you oftentimes will be in situations where you shield your ally team, and just be very successful because you can leave the lane and they have the shield and leech, so it can be very strong. And this is, by the way, the exact situation where Tracer is just super annoying. You can see like we still have 5 enemies up, but they're all kinda low, and she just keeps on going. Keeps on going. Here's another kill. Here's another kill. She's gonna get Nazebo now. And as you can see, I've chosen to give Tracer the shield because I know that she will kill everybody. Even though Gul'dan dies, it's the correct decision. Okay, back to the maps. So, again, the combination is pretty much viable on every map. You can play her on everything. It gets easier maps where Tassadar can finish the mana quests more quickly. So Blackheart's Bay, Brax's Holdout, maps where you get a lot of globes. It will get a lot of easier because you don't have to back as much and you can pre-shield everybody very quickly. And then, last but not least, it has counterplays. So first picking Tassadar Tracer oftentimes looks very juicy and you probably want to do it. That being said, it also allows the enemy team to react to it and pick very good counters. Also, obviously, none of those two heroes have globals, so on very large map like Garden of Terror or Warhead Junction, you will be in the situation that you're not as flexible as other heroes are. So while the combination is very strong because it can be very pesty and make enemies rage a lot, it also has a lot of downsides by not being very mobile. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so counters. Again, this is a very hated combination, so knowing how to counter it is very important. The most important thing is don't get tilted by the combination. If they can pick it, that's fine. It will not change the way that you play the game in general. Like, obviously, if you want to ban it out, if you're so afraid that if you see it a lot, you can ban it out. But it's not as strong as it can be in pro games, and even if they are a 2-group and they're in voice and everything, there are still possibilities to counter this. First of all, you definitely need an auto attacker against Tracer. Raynor, Tychus, sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. Tychus, just Vala, for example, the new Vala is very good. Basically anything that Tracer can't dodge to avoid damage. So anything like Li Ming, for example, is pretty bad because you can dodge most of her attacks with Tracer. An auto attack can't be dodged. Like if you auto attack her, she can't dodge that by blinking away. So this is really important. Second of all, you want to have a strong front line. So having a Meridian, for example, is pretty good. ETC, anything that can move away from her without getting too much damage. Johanna struggles a little bit against her because you can really move away very quickly from her, so she will be able to attack you a lot. Another hero that struggles is Dehaka because you can't really do anything against her. And a good tank, for example, is also Chen. That being said, that can be a miss and a hit because if you while you're drinking, you obviously are a juicy target. So basically you will get a lot of damage, and that means that you might fuel her heroic and then you just die. So he can be a good tank against her, but not necessarily the best. You do want to have a bruiser though. Obviously Alarak now coming into play in pro games, he has a silence, can be very strong, but he relies on the combination, so that can be difficult. Same goes for Kerrigan. Hitting a combination on a Tracer is probably her death, but she can blink out of these and recoil out of these, so that can be difficult. I personally like a lot to play Thrall against her, because you have the lightning she can't dodge, it's a point and click. And then also if you hit her with the wolf, you can basically just hit her a couple times in the face and she loses most of her life. Then burst damage in general is good because of Tassadar. So if you can have a Kel'Thas that hits a lot of targets, like in this situation here, you will not struggle as much with the Tassadar Tracer because you are killing the rest of the team. While I said earlier when we had the situation where she kills 5 people, that killing or losing Gul'dan was not a big deal. If you kill her teammates early, it can be a big deal, because then you are 5-on-1 or 5-on-2, and then even if she's very strong, you can still kill her. So having spread damage can be very powerful. Having these situations also very powerful. If you put her in a position where Tassadar has to follow her, she oftentimes struggles to finish off her targets. Obviously this is way too deep here, but that's situations that you can take advantage of. They always have to be together, Tassadar and Tracer. Tassadar has to shield her, Tracer has to be in range, and so on. So if you can put pressure on Tassadar, especially early game when he doesn't have prescience and dimensional warp, you can put pressure on him to use his E. So then he will have a cooldown of 20 seconds on dimensional shift, meaning for 20 seconds you can put a lot of pressure on him again. It also will space him away from Tassadar, from Tracer, so that can be very powerful. One amazing counter to him is Lunara. If you get the chance to get them to focus on a solo support Tassadar and you get Lunara, this will make your life a lot easier. Spread damage like Lunara's poison is very difficult to heal for Tassadar because he can't do anything but shield his allies every 5 seconds, but the poison is going to tick down anyway, so it takes away the shield, it takes away the Kala's Embrace shields. So she's a great counter against Tassadar in general, and she works very well against Tracer as well, because her auto attacks again can't be dodged. Obviously she struggles against the damage that Tracer can put out, so you will need a good support. On the support side of things, you want to have supports that have CC. I think Oriel struggles quite a bit against her because you need Hope to heal. So while she has CC, she can struggle quite a bit against Tracer. That being said, if you have Lunara, for example, and you have like unlimited Hope all the time, it can be fine. Point and click Uther is really good. Like the stun that Uther has can be really, really strong because Tracer wants to go on him, he just stuns her, and then you can have a follow-up. It's a stun that you can't dodge because it's point and click. So having that as an engagement is really, really strong against her. In general, like combinations are obviously strong, like Uther into ETC stun, Uther into Kerrigan stun. Anything that enables you to hit a stun reliably is very important. One last thing on that is also that you don't want to be focused too much on what Tracer and Tassadar does. Heroes like Zagara are very good against her because you can basically just split push and avoid fighting her. She wants to team fight, she wants to get the stacks, she wants to chase you and kill you. If you can avoid that and just take objectives, that's something that can definitely help win against Tracer. And then Tassadar in general, obviously, when you see that the shield has been used, it's on 5-second cooldown. So once you can see the fresh shield being applied, choose a target that hasn't gotten a shield. From level 16 on, well, probably level 13 on already, he's pretty much unkillable. So putting pressure on him is going to be difficult, but not impossible. That being said, once he has used his shield, just try to get on a target that hasn't gotten a shield, which will again put the pressure on Tassadar to use the next shield on that low target, meaning the Tracer will be without a shield, she will not be leeching as much, or maybe not at all. So that can empower you to take her out. Overall, if you see a Tracer Tassadar combo, try to counter it, but don't focus too much on countering it. Like, don't pick like 3 auto attackers like Tychus, Vala and Raynor, just to like, oh, we're gonna counter Tracer all night long. Because while you can do that, you might walk into issues where it's like you don't have a mage, you don't have burst, you don't have wave clear. So that can be an issue. Like, don't focus too much on Tracer and Tassadar. It's similar to when you have a combination that you really want to counter, like if you have a global setup from the enemy team and you pick globals to counter the globals, and then you realize that your globals are weaker or that you actually don't play them as well or whatever. So while it's important to have picks that help play against Tracer, honestly, if you snowball early, you can also just play normal compositions. Last thing, play the map objectives. Tomb of the Spider Queen is a difficult map to play against Tracer Tassadar because the map objectives require you to channel at 2 points where you definitely have to fight. On maps like Rex's Holdout, Dragonshire, where you have 2 points that need to be contested, Tracer can't be on both points at the same time. So try to avoid her in those points and just like take advantage of the area where she's not in. And then again, Tassadar has issues with healing back what you do on damage to his allies when he's not there. So once you bring down his allies to like 50-40%, you have the chance to burst them down, because even with the shield, they're not getting the health back. So, we're going to close this right here. That's the last push. But what you can see on from the replay as well is that sorry, that is they got very close actually. Now it's 121 to 23 again, but they got it down to one level, and they actually tried to push quite a bit with what they had, but they were outmatched in this situation. Our Tracer Tassadar combination worked very well, and they didn't have a lot of counter to it. So let's pause really quick to just look at what they had. So they had 3 range assassins or range damage dealer, which already is kind of difficult. You normally want to have at least 1 melee, just that you have another frontline with Muradin. And while Rhaegar does bite in melee, he's not an assassin, or he doesn't do a lot of damage, and also once he uses his bite, he can be quite out of position. So he's not a very reliable source of damage. Second of all, Nazeebo and Kel'Thas can do quite a bit of spread damage to my team, which is amazing, because Tassadar again struggles against that. But they also don't have that much burst to finish off a target. While Kel'Thas kind of has that with the Q, it still needs a skill shot to be landing on a couple of targets to do that. He also doesn't have a lot of self-healing or self-sustain, so he can't be out of position ever. So once he gets caught, he's just dead from Tracer. Similarly, it goes for Nazeebo, and he also didn't take sprint on 13. So when he has longer range, he's also an easy target. Tychus still had Relentless at that point, so he was kind of okay against CCs, but looking at our setup, he's good against Tyrael and Johanna. So I think that was the best pick on the range section from the enemy team, because he's somebody who can put pressure on 2 of our tanks, which he actually did. Like the Tyrael and the Johanna both had to send them back because Tychus would just do too much damage. Muradin again was a very good pick, always a very stable pick and tank. I think also he took the correct talents, trying to be more active, having more stuns, and then also having heavy impact, which can be quite surprising for a Tracer when you just jump on her instead of jumping away from her. So let's finish the game. We will get this done here. And you can see that this was a random match, and we pretty much dominated from level 7 on. So early game can be quite interesting to play with against Tracer Tassadar, because you want to have a snowball effect where you win the early game pretty heavily. Otherwise, from level 7 on, it's going to be very difficult to play against it. On the flip side, if you play Tassadar Tracer, you do want to be up or even on the early game. Once you fall behind very early and very heavily, it can be a difficult situation. Battlefield of Eternity, Brax's holdout, if you lose early objectives and let the enemy snowball from that, it can be difficult. Especially because Tracer doesn't have the best wave clear, so having her, for example, needing to clear a lane or something like that normally leads to disaster. Looking at the stats, my Tracer died 6 times. That's also because she's super suicidal and went in a lot of times where she didn't need to. You can see I only died once where we overextended, but otherwise, as a Tassadar player, your goal should be to never die, ever. So when you start training Tassadar, make sure that you play with prescience, play with dimensional shift. Dimensional shifts cooldown, so that you learn how to use it and how often you have it up and get the feeling for those 20 seconds. Also, dimensional warp will give you a lot of healing when you use prescience. When you use the dimensional shift or prescience is used, but it doesn't give anything to your team. So in this case, for example, I used evasive shielding, which means that plasma shield gives movement speed for 5 seconds. This can be something that can be very powerful, because you give something to your team with the shields, and it has an effect on them, but also an effect of you if you shield yourself. So you can run away much more quickly. That being said, dimensional warp, where you get healed by using the dimensional shift, or when prescience is procced, can be, the nail in the coffin of you not dying, so to say, which is a weird way to put it, but it basically makes you even more invulnerable, more tanky, and more powerful. Maybe on the last point of what you want to have in your team as Tassadar and Tracer. I think double tank works very well because it gives you a very beefy frontline, meaning they can't put much pressure on you as a Tassadar, but it also helps Tracer because she can basically fall back into those two meat shields. For your second assassin or second support, you can choose pretty much everything. You do want to have probably something that is more bursty, because Tracer is relying a lot on the auto attacks and then using her quantum spike damage from plasma bomb to kill one target. But if you can help with that, it will enable her even more. Auto attackers on her side are also okay, but obviously as you have her as an auto attacker, you don't want to overdo it, so having a mage is definitely something that you can do. On the topic of double support, I don't like it that much because you will lose a lot of damage, and it also doesn't give Tracer that much more. For example, if you have an Uther or a Rhaegar with her and Tassadar, sure, you will heal her up from that 50% life or whatever, but she doesn't gain anything out of that. She will go in anyway, so if she gets bursted down a lot when you play her together with Tassadar, I think it's more of a timing thing than missing heals. Okay, so that's it for this episode. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed learning about Tracer and Tassadar. Maybe you want to play it. Maybe you know how to counter it now. As you can see, I was MVP of that game, which is pretty easy if you have 31 assists and don't die that often. But also Tracer, obviously, with 38% hero damage, was very powerful. So that's pretty cool. Okay, if you have any questions on Tracer Tassadar, let me know in the comments. I will get back to you as soon as I can. And obviously, if you have any tips and tricks how to play her or how to play against her, let us know. We will definitely enjoy that as well. Other than that, have a great Sunday. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a like if you liked it, and then I will see you next time. See you soon. Have a good one.